In a busy hospital hallway, a surgeon kicks over a custodian's mop bucket and tosses her badge into a biohazard bin. A junior resident steps in, risking a key surgical case and her evaluation to retrieve the badge and help the worker file a report. Quiet fallout follows, with small changes in habits and a steadying image that hints at dignity restored. Just a quick note before we begin: hit like, share this with a friend, and subscribe for more. Also, let me know in the comments which country you're watching from. It always amazes me how far these stories travel. The bucket went over. Blue water raced across the OR hallway and slapped against the baseboard. The mop slid and clacked. Bleach bit the air. People in scrubs froze mid-step like the floor might argue with their shoes. He yanked her badge. The white lanyard went tight against her collarbone. He popped the clip with one hand, the same hand that held a black marker, and dropped the badge into the red biohazard bin like it was trash. Her checklist followed, a wet slap on the tiles. "You can't swab this corridor before a case," he said even. Not loud. It cut anyway. Leah stood at the OR desk and felt her name on the board like chalk under her skin. Pancrete, CTM. Vance, L. Shin, PGY3. She had waited 8 months for this case and this attending. The glass in the board reflected his cap with little sharks. The custodian stood there with a soaked pant leg, hands up and empty, face trying not to show anything. Her phone buzzed once against her hip. A nurse on her left stared hard at the screensaver and said nothing. A tech backed the stretcher half a foot, brake squeaking, also saying nothing. Leah touched her own badge clip. The laminated Speak Up card glowed through the plastic like a dare. She stepped into the wet. The cold went through her shoe cover. The yellow wet floor sign was leaning against the wall, still folded. "Stop," she said, to no one and to him. She pulled a pair of blue gloves off the box, snapped them on, lifted the red bin lid with her elbow, and fished for the white plastic rectangle with a pair of forceps from the instrument's return tray. He moved toward her, tall and fast. "That's biohazard," he said, as if she hadn't clocked the color. He smelled like scrub soap and coffee. "Then don't put her badge in it," Leah said. She wiped the badge with an alcohol pad until it squeaked. She clipped it back to the woman's lanyard herself, the little click too bright in the hall. Vance uncapped a marker and drew a line through her last name on the whiteboard with a neat stroke. "You're off," he said. "Get me Patel." His eyes didn't go red, didn't bulge. He looked at his watch and then at the charge nurse. "We're already late." The charge nurse lifted one shoulder. The nurse never met Leah's eye. In the locker room, she dug out a pair of rolled hospital socks and set them by a plastic chair. She hung her own hoodie on the hook and waved to the bench. The custodian's hands shook as she peeled off the wet sock and her calf hair lay flat with water. Leah knelt, squeezed the toe of the soaked sock in a paper towel, then slid the dry one across. "Do you want a tea?" she asked. The woman nodded once, eyes on the floor tiles. They sat in the tiny staff break room, lights humming, vending machine rattling now and then. Leah put a cup under the hot water spout, ripped open a Lipton and set a banana beside it. No words scripted for this. The woman kept her hands around the paper cup and stared at the steam like it was something she could steer. "Name?" Leah asked. "Iris," she said, small. Leah said her own and didn't add. "Doctor," down in the basement ID office. The plexiglass window had a crack and a sign that said cash or card. Leah slid her card through the slot. The woman behind the glass called Iris by her last name, then printed a replacement sleeve just in case and shoved a pack of alcohol wipes with it. "Fees $5, the woman said. "I've got it," Leah said fast. Back upstairs, she wrote the time on a sticky note and 3 names of people who stood and watched, plus one who blinked hard like he wanted to say something and didn't. She didn't dictate. She told Iris, "I can help you put in the report. You can say as much or as little as you want." Iris nodded and whispered, "Just facts." Leah typed exactly that into the hospital's pale blue portal, fingers steady. From the open tote, a white envelope slid out when Iris moved it to her other shoulder, "Past due" in red on the corner. A child's inhaler thumped out too, plus a crumpled math worksheet with 9 times 7 circled and wrong. Leah handed them back without looking long. Iris pulled the envelope in and pressed it flat under her palm. 2 weeks later, the morning huddle changed by an inch. The charge nurse read the cases, then added, "EVS, any needs?" The woman with the mop said, "We'll mark the corridor and call when passing." People stepped to the edges when the green bucket rolled by like a slow parade no one clapped for. Someone moved a stack of gloves near the red bin on purpose. Her nights got heavy, consults stacked, pages doubled, the board never had her name next to Vance again. The program director called her after hours and said, "You made a scene," the way you'd say. "You bumped a door." Leah listened and said, "I'll own it," the way you'd say. It happened. She started keeping tea bags, spare socks, and 2 granola bars in her locker. She learned 2 more custodians' names without trying. Once, in the elevator, the custodian handed her half a banana. No words. Just a half, cleanly broken palm up. Leah took it and held it in the same hand that always held a pen, just to see what that felt like. The doors opened and they stepped into the same bright hall. What Leah remembered most was the click. The badge coming home to the lanyard. That small sound made the hall straighten up in her head, even after the board erased her and the day ran long. On a late shift, the yellow sign stood by the OR door, triangle steady, catching the glow from the monitor screens. The white plastic badge rested flat against a grey uniform as the woman pushed the green bucket past, and the plastic didn't swing much at all.